Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Let me just ask with the audience as well. Hello, am I audible? Hello, am I audible? Hello. Okay. So, hello everyone. Thank you again for joining. We have been doing some sessions on YouTube for programming, digital and analog, and now we are inviting our alumni to tell them about their experience and how they prepared for their interviews. In our last session, we discussed a lot of things with Ritya, and today we have Vibhor Kaul, who have joined CST last year as an SOC Modeling Engineer. One thing I can say about Vibhor is that he was always a very hardworking student. He took initiatives on his own, be it assignment or projects. So, welcome, Vibhor.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, and hello to the audience as well.
Okay, Vibhor, first, can you tell us something about yourself and about your background?
Okay, so I graduated from Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology, which is situated in Rohini, and it is under the Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University. My stream in my BTech was Electronics and Communication Engineering, and just to give an overview, I was just like the normal crowd mentality that I wanted to get into the IT despite being of whatever branch. So that's how I heard of Pine because I was not totally inclined towards software engineering and wanted to do something different related to my branch. And that's when I contacted one of my seniors who told me about Pine, and that's how I got to know about it.
Okay, Vibhor, so you were in design and verification batch in Pine, right? So, did you already knew that you had to join the DV batch, or were you still exploring at that time?
Actually, when I first joined Pine, so in the foundational batch, I was taught about digital electronics, and at that point, I was still new to the whole VLSI world. So upon talking to my mentor Vaibhav sir, like he guided me towards it, like what are the main branches and all. So I had already some experience with coding in C++. So Vaibhav sir told that if you like coding and if you want to grow a career in that, then design verification should be for me. So that's when I decided that I'll start with that.
Okay, so you said that you already knew about coding, but before joining the badge, what was the biggest problem you were facing at that time? Was it concept, logic, building, coding practice, or maybe confidence or something like that?
Okay, so this I'm going to give an answer which a lot of people would know. So I was stuck in the tutorial hell. So there is an abundance of lectures and videos on YouTube you can learn coding from, and I just thought that just by looking at the videos and going through hours of videos, I'd be a proficient coder. But that was not the case. Even after watching a lot of videos, when I sat myself to start coding or work on some projects, I always struggled a lot. So that was where I was lacking majorly at that point.
So, like, for how long did you struggle with tutorials before joining the batch?
I joined Pine in my at the end of my third year and the beginning of fourth year, just before the placements. So for 3 to 4 months prior to that, I was coding and like again watching tutorials and all. But there were a couple of online assessments which happened in my college, and I was not able to qualify them. That's only because I didn't have enough hands-on, and I was just going through the videos, and yeah, that doesn't get you through the interviews and all.
Okay, Vibhor. So, you have cleared an interview based on C and C++. And you were once a student who had a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
So, what mistakes do you? I'll just wait for Vibhor to. I will just wait for Vibhor to join again.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for that.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Can you please repeat the question? Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you have already cleared an interview based on C and C++,
Mhm.
and you were also once a student who had made a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
right? So, what mistakes do you think a lot of students make while learning C++ or maybe any programming language?
Yeah, I think it's the same which I mentioned. Like a lot of people would be like me, and not just at my time, but current students as well, who would think that just looking at the tutorials and writing some basic codes will get them through the interviews. But it's actually you have to develop the logic. It's not just you can solve a 3 to 4 questions and then you'll be ready to clear interviews. There are a lot of patterns, but they boil down to some selective few. But you need to have done those questions. So that is the major thing, that we need to practice a lot of questions and need to be hands-on with any one of the programming languages, and then we should be good to go and able to clear any interviews for that matter.
Okay, so while you were learning, what topics did you feel were the most difficult according to you?
Okay, so if I'm not wrong, multi-dimensional arrays and dynamic memory allocation, and then going to the advanced concepts of OOPs, like these were the selective topics I faced difficulties in. But once you get to know the crux behind them, the actual concept, then these things become smooth and you are able to connect them to other concepts as well.
Can you tell us more in depth about like what actually you felt difficult in multidimensional arrays?
Yeah, so my approach used to be like to just learn about some data structure and then look tutorials with some questions which were being solved on them. So a simple traversal questions of one dimensional arrays, I got comfortable with them. But when the things came to a multi-dimensional array, I always got confused with the pointer manipulation. Like how do I traverse those? And when I started doing going on lead code, I struggled a lot with them because arrays are also pointer manipulation at the end of the day, and if you're not comfortable with that thing, you will struggle sooner or later. So that's when I thought that I should go back to that, and yes, then I started practicing pointer manipulation first, and then I jumped into problem solving on arrays and multidimensional things.
Yeah, I guess that is one of the most important thing. Most people miss that we have to be good at pointers to understand arrays properly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vibhor, Did your training at Pine Training Academy, like, was it mostly theories? Was it mostly practical? Or like what percentage of theory and versus practical was there?
I would say there was a good balance between both of these things because during our classes, we were taught all the concepts related to, let's just say, any data structure we were practicing or any of the language fundamentals. Those things were taught in the class. But along with that, after every class, we used to get an assignment, which could be problems related to data structures and algorithms, solving any of the questions, or I remember correctly, we had some snippet-based questions as well in our assignments, which got us really strong at pointer manipulation topics. Like major of the topics in which students struggle, all of those were covered in the assignments. So, yeah, in a nutshell, it was a good balance between both theory and practical knowledge.
Okay, okay. Uh, was there any specific moment when you realized that you have actually started improving in coding?
Yes, it came in an interview itself. So before Circuit Sutra, I also appeared for a different company as an interview. And in that, I was given a totally new question, which I'd never seen before. But it was the first time like I didn't got nervous and I was able to solve that question. I took my time, but I took a systematic approach in which I could interact with the interviewer as well. And I could solve that properly and get the answer to that. So at that point, I thought, even if I don't clear this interview, I think I'm being closer to being the version of myself in which I can crack other companies' interviews quite easily.
Okay, okay. So, when you used to get stuck in any concept or coding question, how was that resolved during your training?
Okay, so my first approach was always to look into it myself, to go through any of the documentation available online or look at the YouTube videos again, if it was a theoretical question. But if it was still unclear, then I used to like approach you if you must remember. So I used to text you and like keep on doing the counter questioning, like these are my doubts and everything. So that was quite helpful to have a mentor with you who can like guide you on every step of the way. So yeah, that was quite helpful.
Okay, during your interview, what percentage of questions were from object oriented programming?
Okay, so in my first screening round, there was only problem-based question, C based, but in round two and round three, I also started to get object-oriented programming questions, and most of them were snippet-based. Like just to give an example, a simple one. So an object creation was done. There was a code snippet, and I needed to tell the order of the call of constructors and destructors. So this was one of the question which was asked to me. And similarly, like this, I don't remember the exact number, but if I combine both round two and round three interviews, I was asked at least 7 to 8 question which were based on object-oriented programming.
Yeah, the question where they ask like what will be the order of running of constructor and destructor is actually very important, and they ask in many interviews. Yeah, it is a very good conceptual question.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, like apart from syntax, how many questions were there based on logic building?
The questions were mainly from logic building itself. So I remember my round one interview. It was just first question which I was asked was related to C macros and bit manipulation. So to set, unset, or toggle some bit. That was the first round question. And after that, if I remember, I was given string manipulation and array manipulation question in my round one itself. And going forward to round two, it was again the same pattern. It was again string manipulation and array manipulation. And then in round three, again, it was a string manipulation question, but it was a little bit elaborate than the ones compared to round one and round two. So in the round three question, they were trying to assess me on different parameters with a single question itself. So once I was done writing the code, I was asked to debug it as well. Without running it, I needed to spot flaws myself before I actually execute and get the errors. So yeah, array and string manipulation and bit manipulation. If we talk about the VLSI industry, these three are the major players in which the questions are asked from.
Okay, okay. Thanks, Vibhor. That was really helpful information. Um, do you think that electronics and electrical students should learn C and C++ if they want to go in the core electronics industry?
According to me, a big yes, because C is actually the father of all the languages. And if you get comfortable with C and then C++, which is nothing but C with object oriented programming, you will be set to be comfortable in learning any other language for that matter. And yeah, C is quite complex as well compared to, let's just say, Python, which is a weakly type language. So it's not that difficult to get a hold of it. So once you are smooth with C and C++, it will help you greatly, no matter your industry, whether it be electronics or it's software engineering.
Okay. Can you tell me some of the opportunities a student can get if they are studying C and C++ and they are from electronics student? Like what kind of job they can get? Any idea?
Okay, so one of the major markets, if you learn C and C++, it's the embedded software industry. So a lot of students might know of it as well. So first is this industry. Second is the virtual prototyping, which is taking a lot of heat currently. So it's actually a way to reduce the time to market from the chip ideation to the chip delivery, in which we prepare functional models of the entire SOC or any or any IP, which can be used to develop firmware at a very early stage, even before the chip comes out. So C++ will get you through that in virtual prototyping, and then the embedded software industry is itself a massive scale industry. And then there's FPGA as well. So there are multiple industries where you can get a job if you are good at C and C++.
Okay. So Vibhor, whenever a student is preparing for interview, I'm talking specifically about electronics and electrical students. So they have a lot of things to study. Even if they are interested in programming, they have multiple options. Like they can study CNC C++. They can study Verilog. So what should be their strategy while studying for an interview? Like how should they manage? If they should study one thing perfectly or they should balance more than one thing, what do you think?
So according to me, the preparation should combine of everything. So you should be knowing of the entire ecosystem. For that matter, let's just say if I talk about the design and verification, programming is a must. You cannot escape that. But along with programming, you need to know what you are coding for. So there comes the concept of computer architecture and digital electronics. And in our growing world where processors are being so performance optimized and everything, the knowledge of computer architecture sets you apart from the entire crowd. So let's just say if a person is in design verification, if he's going for RTL roles, then Verilog and System Verilog along with these theoretical topics. And if they're going for this virtual prototyping and embedded roles, then C, C++ along with these theoretical subjects. But as you progress in your career and everything, you need to know the entire flow, the RTL to GDS flow, like just the front end design verification, what happens after that, the physical design, and then the layouts. Everything should be known till the time the chip goes to get printed in the fabrication unit. So you should be knowing every single bit of that, which makes you a very holistically great engineer, and that will, again, as I mentioned, set you apart from rest of the group.
Okay, okay, that's a great answer. Uh, so, what was your selection process at Circuit Sutra look like? Like from sending resume to getting selected? Like, can you tell us about that?
Okay, so me getting an opportunity to interview for Circuit Sutra is all credits to Pine, because, as I mentioned, I had no idea about this industry. But Pine helped me to prepare a resume worthy enough and fitting enough for this industry. So on my end, I had to prepare my resume according to all the trainings I did in Pine, and then rest of the things were handled by Vibhor sir, where he was the one to forward our resumes to Circuit Sutra. And then from there on, we got the emails for the screening round, the round two, and the round three. And post round three, I got an offer.
Okay. And how did you practice specifically for interview?
Okay, so if I were to give my resources, which I would suggest to everyone, if I'm talking about C and C++, then there is this playlist Saurabh Shukla on YouTube. and you can practice that along with problem solving, which is absolutely necessary. But again, if people are willing to go to a training institute, I would highly recommend Pine for that, because the support I've received from Pine and the exposure, more importantly, because exposure is the key thing. The exposure which Pine has provided has been exceptional. So, along with Pine going through the training and the curriculum, with your own self study, practicing questions and going through YouTube to clarify your concepts, that way you'll be all rounded and well fitted for any interview.
Okay, and which platform did you use to practice questions? Only Lead Code, or was there any other platform as well?
Yeah, I personally I like lead code, and to get into this VLSI industry, it's not even necessary to go to the hard level questions. If you can understand the logic behind all the easy and medium level questions, you'll be good to go.
Okay, were you actually nervous while you were giving the interview, or like you were confident?
No, I was very nervous in all the three rounds because I remember in the second round I messed up in the while I was writing the code. I didn't realize it then, but I was making very silly mistakes. Like I was not defining the variable but using it in the function and all. But the interviewers at Circuit Sutra were really nice and made me comfortable and just told me to take a look at it again. You'll be able to figure it out. Just keep on looking at your code before running it because we want to see you debug it. So out of nervousness, I made a lot of mistakes. But yeah, things depend on your interviewer as well, how comfortable he gets you. Because at the day of interview, everyone is nervous. That's natural.
Okay, and what was your reaction when you got selected?
I was actually very relieved because looking at the market trends at that time, so much of recession and hardly any openings, especially in the VLSI domain. When I saw the offer and like I was actually quite happy that just out of the college I'll have a job in my hand and yeah, I'll be able to support myself and not too dependent on my family. So that made me quite happy.
Okay, Vibhor, whenever students enroll in any batch, they get too dependent on the instructor. What do you think the role of instructor and the role of that student is in getting selected at any company? Like how much role is performed by the instructor and how much role is performed by that student?
Okay, so to answer that, I'll say that 80% of the hard work has to be done by the student, and the rest 20% has to be taken care by the mentor. Because coding, as we say, is just a language, right? And if we are teaching someone to speak in English or let's just say any foreign language, no one can come and put that in your head that you have to say it like this, and if this happens, then you have to say this. Unless you do it yourself, you won't get the hang of it. So the mentor has to provide all the resources, teach the concepts crystal clear to the very point, and then from that point on, once the concepts are clear, it's up to the students how much he refines it and how much problems he solves based on those questions, based on those topics. Because once you start with problem solving, that is when you develop that logical ability to have those patterns formed in your head, that if this question comes in this pattern, this question comes in the other pattern. So yeah, it has to be, majority of the effort has to be taken by the student itself, and the mentor has to be there to support, like after teaching as well. If there are any doubts that he's not able to solve himself, then there comes the mentor and he has to take care of it.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, Vibhor, what advice would you give to students who are currently weak in coding? If they want to improve, what steps should they follow on their own? Like if the instructor is not there, how should they practice? What should be the approach?
A very straightforward, but people can say very dumb advice or a practical one. But coding can only be learned by doing it. That's all there is to it. If you have some conceptual doubts, there are a lot of documentation available in today's world. You have Geeks for Geeks as the prime one, but there are others as well. And if you're someone who wants to look at tutorials and see other people do it before you can practice yourself, there are ample resources available on YouTube as well. So learn the concepts, understand the depth behind them, and start coding. You have to code before you can be comfortable with it. That's all there is to it. There is no shortcut to your time and efforts. That's all.
Okay, Vibhor, suppose you are still in college and you have a programming interview in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What would be your strategy? Like, how much time will you give to the theory part, and how much time will you give to the coding part per day, and like how many hours?
Okay, so considering I have an interview in 2 weeks, if I have no knowledge of coding, I shouldn't be too optimistic of clearing it because, again, nothing can replace your time. So, assuming that the person has been understanding the concept for a long time and have been practicing questions, and they have an interview at their dream company in 2 weeks, the most they can do is to analyze the previous year question asked by those companies. You can get that on Google and solve those questions specifically and questions around those which follow the similar pattern. And that's the most you can do because all the things you have done before those 2 weeks are left, that counts, and not the one things you will do in those 2 weeks.
So someone is at average preparation, right? They're not too good and neither too bad.
Hmm.
So how should they prepare? Like, how much time to theory and how much time to coding?
Okay, so I can say that they can devote entire 3 days to taking 14 days we have in total. 3 to 4 days total, go through the language basics, spend 6 to 7 hours daily to understand what all the language has to offer to you, how can you use it, the various things which are available. But once you are clear with those, you have cleared the basics of a language, then start with problem solving. And then there's no time you can put on that, like practice 3 to 4 hours and everything. Just get the questions, as I mentioned, the previous year questions asked by that company, solve those for sure, and related questions so that you know how to think. Like, even if they bring up a new question in the interview, it will still be based on those patterns with a little bit of tweaks. So once you are done in those 4 days with those theory and then the 10 days of problem solving, you should be in a confident state that you can clear that interview.
Okay, okay, thanks. That was a great response. Uh, if you had to restart your preparation again, what would you do differently?
Okay, so I would follow my same advice which I give, and I'll take some time, like just say 6 to 7 days to, let's just say I'm starting with C. So the first 6 to 7 days, I'll understand about the language. No problem solving, no nothing. The syntax, like the function declaration, dynamic memory allocation, all these things first to get comfortable with those things. Once I have spent enough time with it, then I'll start to get into data structures, how to implement them, then solve questions based on them. Then I'll look at tutorials, like let's just say I go on some platform, I start solving questions. One approach is to solve question. The other approach, which is even better, is to create a project. And there are a lot of project ideas you can get online. And yeah, these will be my two approaches. Like I've already tried with problem solving earlier. So if I were to start again, I would probably go for a project this time. Starting making a project from scratch using C, and then from C++ using object-oriented programming and all. So that is how I would recommend to all the people who are thinking of beginning their journey.
Okay, okay. Uh, what do you think if a student joins a C and C++ batch at Pine and he or she takes it seriously? Uh, do you think they will be able to crack the C and C++ interview? Like, what kind of support do you think Pine can give to them, which will help them, and how much they have to work hard? So, yeah.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend joining the C and C++ batch at Pine because Pine can guide you very well. And again, the term is exposure. Pine can give you a lot of exposure at the academy because it's not just with, okay, now we're talking specifically on C and C++. So there have been a lot of students in the past, like the alumni of Pine, who have cracked interviews on these things. Uh, and it can be a lot of companies like C, C++, companies which are based like Circuit Sutra, Cadence, Synopsys. There have been students who have gone there. So we, the mentors at Pine know what kind of questions to be expected there, and they know how to teach and train students based on those things. And as I mentioned, the curriculum at Pine is very well balanced between theory and practicality. So they will teach you the concepts, They will ask you to do the problem solving on your own based on the assignments. And once you are at a certain level, they will ask you to create a project. The projects are the main thing, because then you will be getting exposure, like how you are really using a language to create something, a product, not per se, but something you create of your own. So I remember I completed 2 projects at Pine, which also gave me a lot of confidence to to the extent that how development really goes in industries and all these things. So yes, the curriculum is very structured. You will be getting very clear with the language basics. You will be able to solve problems, and you would have your own projects to showcase on your resume. So it will be a big plus for you guys.
Okay, thanks a lot, Vibhor, for answering those questions. Uh, I think students have got a lot of information, and thanks to you for taking out time for this session. And I hope you do well in your future. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.